Hello there. It's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and yes, it is Halloween. Actually, it's the day before Halloween, but it is a Sunday, and that means it's time for the Texas Gun Vault Poll Question of the Week, a weekly vlog that I put out where I ask you, as my viewers and subscribers, about something that deals with guns, gun culture, politics, current events, the news, or something fun like EDC that I want to get your thoughts and opinions on. And yes, for Halloween this year, I am dressed up as a Jedi Knight. I've always wanted to dress up as this. And I'm not really a big costume guy. I have the lightsaber and everything. Maybe I should do a range report on this bad boy one day. No, I'm just kidding. But as I mentioned, this is the Texas Gun Vault Poll Question of the Week. And this week's question deals with the type of content that you like to watch on YouTube. I came up with this question because I'm always trying to improve the Texas Gun Vault. And one of the things that I try to see is, what are you all interested in? Now, I know by asking this poll on my question, it's already going to be a little bit biased. After all, if you like my content and follow my channel and are seeing this poll, you might like the content that I create. But I look at other channels I follow and channels that I don't. I see what gets the most views. And it doesn't mean that it's influencing me, meaning I need to change what I do. I'm going to continue to do what I do. But I've always been fascinated by the viewership of certain channels. Some channels I think are gigantic, but don't really put out a lot of quality firearms content. Then there's other channels that might even be smaller than mine that I think are much better. They put out a lot of great content, from shooting reviews and politics. But for some reason, they just don't get the same traction. Sometimes I think it has to do with personality more than content itself. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then I look at the numbers of what types of videos get the most views. And it doesn't always make sense. But I wanted to see what you guys had to say. What do you really enjoy on YouTube and Rumble? What do you come here for? What are you most likely going to click on? Is it going to be the same thing as me? Well, let's read the question and then let's get your results. Over the years, I have seen a gradual change in the style and focus of firearms and Second Amendment YouTube channels. When I first got on YouTube, it was like the Wild West, and it was dominated by smaller channels just looking to make fun or informative videos. It has now evolved into a platform where content creators with millions of subscribers make high quality and almost TV-like programming as a full-time job for sometimes niche audiences. When it comes to the firearms Second Amendment content you consume on YouTube or Rumble, what style do you prefer and or gravitate towards the most, and why? And so I allude to it in the question. I've been on YouTube for over about 10 years now, and I have seen dramatic changes. When I first got into YouTube about 10 years ago, the platform was dominated by small content creators. None of the content was monetizable, so you didn't have people on here that were doing it as a full-time job or as a business. It was mainly dominated by those small channels, and the ones that got the most popular were the ones that had the most charisma or the right voice or the right presentation style. But there were still small channels that were doing great work. I can't tell you how many small channels have helped me out on small gunsmithing projects. I can't figure out how to change this part or understand how it works. Well, somebody made a video on it, and maybe they only had 100 subscribers. Other content creators would band together, constantly giving each other shout outs. It was like these little cabals. It was a lot of fun. You got to know people. It was a wonderful time on YouTube. And as time went on, eventually they added the partner program, and then channels were able to monetize their content. And that's when things slowly began to change. Some people are going to say it changed for the better. Some people are going to say it changed for the worse. Because of that partnership program, we now have the larger channels that, as I said, are producing almost TV-like quality content. People that put out high quality content that is very expensive to make all the time. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that say these content creators have ruined it because they're always talking about things like Patreon, or they're always talking about subscribers and monetization and the fight against YouTube. Just make content. Well, I see it from both perspectives. I consume a lot of firearms content, but I also produce a very small YouTube channel. After all, you guys are here watching it. You guys see what I do, and I can tell you this takes a lot of time and money. So I can only imagine what the larger channels have to go through when it comes to the cost of their overhead. I can tell you that being on YouTube for me is a passion project. I love being here, and I want to create content that other people want to enjoy. Yes, I make a lot of content just for me because it's what I would want to see. And it's kind of like why I was asking this question in the first place. I want to know, what do you want to see? Not necessarily that it's going to influence me, but to take the time to spend the money on ammunition and firearms and other things and the travel to produce content that people can consume for free and then they complain about it, well, that's kind of disheartening, but I totally get it. Nobody has to subscribe to anybody. Nobody has to join anybody's Patreon. You don't have to follow anybody or click that bell notification. It's all up to you. But I find it funny that when channels like the Military Arms channel promote ways that you can promote them, that they get upset with them. They call them shills or sellouts. Same thing goes for other channels like Forgotten Weapons, who I absolutely love. Every time I see those channels and them talking about ways that you can support them, I'm all for it because, as I said, I understand the time and the money that goes into creating content. But as I mentioned, a lot of people think this has ruined YouTube. They just want to get the content for free. And I know this has kind of become a little bit of a tangent when it comes to the monetization. However, as I said, a lot of people think this has ruined it. And so they now go to YouTube for very specific reasons, for very specific types of content. So content creators have to make content that is going to get the most views. And sometimes that can be boring intellectual stuff, and sometimes that can be what I have referred to in the past as gun porn. Simply gun bunnies blowing stuff up with tannerite. And I know those get a lot of views. So I want to see what you guys watch. So let's see what this week's results are. With 503 votes as of me filming this video, we have 2A, news, information, and commentary. No guns, just the legal stuff, 7%. Collecting and history. I want to see rare, cool, and exotic firearms, 20%. Serious gun reviews. Chronographs, mechanics, and comparisons, 54%. Gun porn, blowing stuff up, shooting fast, and gun bunnies, 8%. And something else, gunsmithing, reloading, ballistics, etc., 11%. Now remember, YouTube only gives me 5 options when it comes to answers, and I kind of divided these between the types of channels that I either have subscribed to in the past or currently subscribe to. Some of these channels I have seen explode in popularity, and that's made me wonder, well, these channels are doing this type of content. Should I be doing more content like that? Maybe it kind of has an overlap with something that I already do, and I should do more of that because I want to bring content that people want to watch. I want to bring that to you, not because I want to become more popular, but because I feel like I am an ambassador for the Second Amendment and I want to promote it in a positive way. So the more people that I can reach, the better. But let's go through each one of these, and I'll give you guys my personal opinions. First, we have 2A news, information, and commentary. No guns, just the legal stuff. I was honestly surprised that this only got 7% because a couple of the channels that I follow that have exploded in growth, especially in this past year, are channels just like this. The 2 channels that I have watched recently, number 1 is Washington Gun Law, which mainly deals with politics and gun news from Washington State, but also things on a national level. It's hosted by an attorney. I believe his name is William Kirk, who's the president of the Washington Gun Law organization. I've also watched The Armed Scholar, and he's based out of California. He's also an attorney, and I've seen his channel grow. And there's been complaints with his channel saying that everything he does is kind of clickbaity, and I totally get it. Every day it's breaking news, groundbreaking, and it's always a picture of Joe Biden yelling or something of that nature, and you think, oh my gosh, the NFA has been repealed, and really nothing has happened. But I'm still drawn into it, not because of the clickbaity title, but because I like to know everything about the Second Amendment and news and legalities. I guess I'm just kind of a nerd. And because those channels have exploded in popularity. I was kind of expecting more people to say that's what they're enjoying right now, especially when our Second Amendment rights are under constant attack. Then we have collecting in history. I want to see rare, cool, and exotic firearms. Now this one got quite a lot. I kind of expected this one to get a little bit more because of what my channel is focused on, and I am a collector. Now the channel I had in mind when it came to this option was, of course, Forgotten Weapons. If you're not subscribed to Forgotten Weapons and you like cool, exotic, and rare guns, you need to go check out that channel. They not only have an amazing collection themselves, but they go to auction houses where they are auctioning off these rare guns. They talk about the history. There's not really a lot of shooting on that channel, but they show you guns you have never seen and will never see again, and talk about the history and how it fits into the evolution of firearms. So for someone like myself, that is the pinnacle of YouTube content. I absolutely love learning and watching that stuff because I still believe the history of firearms goes hand in hand with the history of human civilization. You know, as they say in Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and yeah, I'm kind of bringing up the costume that I'm wearing right now, but The Mandalorian says, weapons are part of my religion. And I really think weapons are part of the human experience. You don't have to use the weapons for their intended purpose, and I never want to hurt anybody, but they go hand in hand with human civilization, and you can't deny it. And so learning about those guns, learning the evolution, learning the mechanics is just so fascinating to me, and I feel like I am understanding history more, and it becomes part of me, and I want to share that knowledge with other people. Then we have serious gun reviews, chronographs, mechanics, and comparisons, 54%. Now, I am glad this one got the majority. It's not the one I would have voted for. As I said, I would have voted for the cool and collectible option, but I understand why people would vote for this, maybe if you're watching my channel. But this is the one that did surprise me, even though I'm happy that it won, because it's not really what I see on YouTube. Now, I know I am not the best gun reviewer. I don't have the best personality. I'm not the most charismatic person out there. I don't have the cool piece of land and the chronographs and all that type of stuff. I'm just an average gun guy that goes to a range, shoots some guns, and gives you guys my honest and personal opinions. And that's it. But when it comes to creating content of this nature, I find that not all of my range reports and my gun reviews really get a lot of traction. But then when I go to other channels, and I'm going to bring up the whole gun bunnies, gun porn stuff, I see them get millions upon millions of views just because they're blowing up pumpkins for Halloween or cutting down a Christmas tree with a shotgun at the base. It doesn't make any sense to me. For me, that's uncivilized. I'm not saying that content is bad. It just doesn't do anything for me on an intellectual basis. And then I also see those other channels talking about the legal issues exploding in popularity. People are just excited about that. But when it comes to the gun reviews, they're not. And the other thing about the gun reviews that always surprise me is that if I have an opinion or a reviewer has an opinion that is different than your opinion, you don't like it. You downvote it. You say this person is a shill. He's a terrible person. Well, you obviously don't care about serious gun reviews. Now, I'm not saying you watching this video right now. I'm just saying the Second Amendment public in general. So it really kind of surprised me that this is what got the majority. I'm glad to see it, but it doesn't go hand in hand with what I see on YouTube. Now, as I said, this poll is probably biased because you're following my channel and you see this poll. Then we have gun porn, blowing stuff up, shooting fast, and gun bunnies. That only got 8%, and I'm glad it only got 8% because I think these channels do a huge disservice to the Second Amendment community. The first reason is because I think it takes light of firearms in general. It just shows that people can act immature with guns. Now, I know these channels are designed for entertainment purposes only, but you have to look at it from the perspective of people that don't know anything about guns, that are just searching the web. I want to learn about a Glock. And they push in Glock on the search tab. And then what pulls up? Some guy doing some full auto mag dump, blowing up pumpkins, and the girl he's with is wearing a bikini. Well, what does that say about the Second Amendment community? These people go, oh my gosh, these guys are those stereotypical gun nuts. I don't want to be a part of that. as I said, I think it just does a complete disservice. I understand why these channels probably get the most views in general because their audience isn't gun people. Their audience is people just looking to see scantily clad women, machine guns, and things blowing up. And that can be anybody. You don't have to know anything about guns, own a gun, and you're going to watch that channel. That's why I think FPS Russia was so popular for so long. The whole concept just became a gimmick. And I'm glad that people like that content. However, as I said, I think it did a disservice to the Second Amendment community. And then we have something else, gunsmithing, reloading, ballistics. And speaking of reloading, I have watched a few channels and unfortunately some of them have just gone away, but I've heard that these are the channels that right now are getting hit the most here on YouTube because they want to be demonetized. They get all of the community guideline strikes. It doesn't make any sense. They're not modifying guns, which is against the community guidelines and rules that every YouTuber has to agree to. They're just reloading ammunition. They're talking about the different ballistics and the shape of the projectiles and the amount of powder and charge that they're putting into each cartridge. There's not really a lot of information that an average person that doesn't have the equipment, knowledge, or desire to do any harm to anybody. But they're the ones that get hit hard the most. I actually enjoy a lot of the gunsmithing stuff. As I said, I like to change things out of my guns. I like to be able to repair them. I like to know how they work. And a lot of the gunsmithing videos have helped me immensely. Now, unfortunately, on YouTube, there's not a lot of gunsmithing channels out there just because the way the rules are and how they are arbitrarily enforced. So I gave this kind of a catch-all option for anything else that I didn't mention. So that's my thoughts on all this. I was kind of surprised by the results, but I'm glad the results were what they were. So with all that said, let's see what you guys said with the top-rated comments of the week. And with the top-rated comment of the week, we have 1000 Mountains, who said, I'm most interested in regular gun guy content that's well-delivered, educational, practical, and extremely knowledgeable on a wide range of firearms and accessories. That type of content tremendously helps decision-making for future purchases and is entertaining. And that is what I hope my channel is. I can't tell you how many other channels here on YouTube have cost me to spend money because a regular gun guy will buy a gun, review a gun, and I go, wow, I really want that, or I didn't know about that. It's really easy to go to those bigger channels that are promoting the more common guns that are on the market, the latest and greatest, not necessarily the most interesting, but the regular gun guys, the people that are buying the guns with their own money, those are the ones I trust a little bit more. And that's the type of content, as I said, I like to produce here on the channel. So I understand why this is the top-rated comment of the week, and I completely agree. Those are the types of channels that I like to watch myself. Then we have Woodchuck Cider 1, who said, 9-hole reviews is a perfect example of high-quality, informative content without going over the top. You know, and I completely agree. That is a great channel. But what he says at the end of that comment, I think is the most important. Not going over the top. You know, there are many channels that I used to be subscribed to when I was younger and more immature. And I'm not calling those channels immature because I watched them, but I was all fascinated by the stuff, once again, getting blown up or the cutting down of Christmas trees. And then it just became repetitive and monotonous. And I just moved on to bigger and better things. But sometimes people just go over the top. And it's that content, as I said in the past, that I think hurts the Second Amendment. Then we have Lars Pasic, who says, I kind of come for a little of everything, usually trying to research something specific, like what is a gas system or which barrel twist rate is best. I listen to some 2A news to stay a little bit informed. Sometimes I want a deep dive on the lore and history of some HK gun. Other times I want to figure out which drills I need to bring to the range next. Gear, training, 2A news, history. And I think that's a great comment too. I do find myself kind of picking up stuff from all genres. I do watch a wide variety of channels, but the ones that I said I gravitate towards are more of the history and collecting ones. But yeah, sometimes at night when I'm just scrolling through my feed, watching some of the channels where they go and do drills, where I learn about ballistics, can be very informative and a lot of fun and a nice change of pace. Then we have ACGBLR, who says, I'm a performance-chasing gun guy. I like to see gear tested and evaluated. Unfortunately, very few actually do that. I like hearing your thoughts since you do dive deeper into what you like and dislike about the firearms you show. And this brings up a good point about the people that are called shills. Now, I never like to cast shade on any other YouTube channels because I hope nobody wants to cast shade on me. I know how hard this content is to create, and we're all creating content for different types of viewers. Now, with that said, there are channels out there that I understand why they give the positive and glowing reviews on the particular guns that they do because they are being sponsored by them. Now, these are the people that are not like me. I have a full-time job outside of YouTube. I don't make any money. I lose money making this content. But there's other people that it is their livelihood. They have to put food on the table for their family. They have to grow their business. They have to think about their future. And so when a gun company sends them a product and says, will you review it? Often, while they might give one or two negative things about the gun, they often don't. Everything about the gun is amazing and great. And I always take those channels with a grain of salt. I still enjoy their content. I love their presentation style. I love the quality that they put into it. And yes, apparently I have a fly flying around here right now. I guess it's attracted to my force abilities. So you'll have to put up with that fly flying in front of the camera. But getting back to what I was saying, yes, some of these channels I know are sponsored and I completely understand why, but I take those with a grain of salt. And then finally, we have Camo and Plaid, who says, yes, all of the above. Usually the smaller channels provide some of the more current info that the big channels have to work into the queue unless they are given a specific date of release. I think all of your genres are needed. And that is a great point. And he brings up something that I wasn't thinking about. If you ever notice on those big channels, they always release a review or an announcement about the same gun on the same day. I'm not really a big fan of that. I kind of like to have the reviews be more organic just because it's just what's up next or what the reviewer is most interested in versus you have to make this content and it all has to be released on this day at this time. And then you have the big channels all releasing the same information about the same gun on the same day at the same time. And it just comes across as a little bit fake. Not that the reviews aren't real, but often those reviews are, of course, glowingly positive. And you get it from the biggest channels. And it just makes it look like it's a little bit too produced. And of course, people are turned off by that. And so I might not watch that content when it comes out, but I don't besmirch the people that make it. So this has been a really enlightening poll for me. The results, not what I was expecting, but I'm glad they were what they were. So using this information, maybe I'll try to adjust my content a little, but I don't expect anything to change. I didn't ask this because I want to change. I'm not necessarily looking to become the biggest channel. I just want to produce quality content that people enjoy watching. So that is the Texas Gun Vault poll question of the week. Very enlightening. And if you would like to participate in next week's poll, please go to the community tab of my YouTube channel. I will put a link in the description. Go over there and vote, comment, and like other people's comments to get the top rated comments of the week. Who knows what I'll ask in the future. So let me know what you think. Did the results surprise you as much as they did me? Love to know in the comment section below. So, as always, may the force be with you. And thanks for watching.